French lawmakers vote to include right to abortion in constitution.
Here's a summary of the article.
Describing the UK as sort of a constitutional prison, a sentiment echoed on several recent posts on the 4,000-strong Italians for Scottish Independence Facebook page. De Sanctis noted that the UK was able to leave the EU, whereas Scotland now is being told it can't even hold a vote on whether to leave the UK. The Supreme Court decision was disappointing, but it doesn't need to stop the independence movement. In a way it makes it stronger, she said. At the time of the 2014 independence referendum, Roble was living in Edinburgh with his Scottish husband and was against independence because he understood it meant that Scotland would be left out of the European Union. I studied in London, and what I found really interesting at that time were the constitutional issues, and the democratic deficit already right after Brexit, when Scotland wanted to stay but was taken out of the EU. I was shocked and appalled, I would say, he told Euronews. The Scottish government has been courting European partners for years, with an expanding diplomatic footprint in its network of Scotland House hubs and bilateral visits, including recently when the de facto foreign minister paid an official visit to Paris. Neil Gray, the Scottish Minister for Europe, told Euronews that people across the continent will be looking at the events unfolding in Scotland after the Supreme Court ruling and will really be questioning the democratic values of the United Kingdom and whether it respects the wishes of people when they go to the ballot box. Gray, who represents a constituency in the west of Scotland, said that Europeans respect democracy and understand that people should be able to determine their own futures. The UK government and unionist politicians, he added, will have a hard time explaining why Scotland cannot hold a referendum when the Scottish people voted for parties in Holyrood that are pro-independence.
This post received a score of 9,100, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Yes, it's not a done deal yet.
It should be noted that the French Republicans, Les Republicans, are a centre-right party, and are actually less right-wing than the American Republicans, right, far-right.
Les Republicans have left the centre to LREM. They are quite right-wing now, especially regarding foreigners and migrants.
Nice to see France's progressive approach.
It continues to amaze me how countries like France and New Zealand, among others, can seem to quickly and deliberately do what needs to be done for the greater good of the people, while we here in the US can't even seem to agree on what day it is without getting into an argument.
What did ya call me, ma?
Ya feckin' jokin' me?
'Cause Jesus.
Interesting effect overturning RVW has had. Almost like it was the exact opposite that was intended.
It's pretty clear that in any state where voter referendum is legal and binding, abortion rights would be overwhelmingly protected. Even in the most red states. Yet their representatives will continue to defy their constituents and likely continue the biggest wedge issue in decades.
There are Americans who believe the Leave It to Beaver show was actually a reality show, and they think that's what we need to become.
In Canada, which has no abortion laws at all abortions are fully covered by the national health system. Now, having said that, in Canada all abortions are done early in the first trimester, only 2 to 3% are done after 16 weeks, and no doctor performs abortions past 20 or 21 weeks except for compelling health or genetic reasons. Third trimester abortions are extremely rare and are only done if the mother's life is in immediate critical danger, because it is safer to stabilize the mother so she can go to term than to introduce the physical trauma of an extremely late-term abortion. Of course, being that there are no abortion laws, there is also no abortion on demand.
What do you mean by abortion on demand? Does it mean basically even though they're covered they're not guaranteed? Genuine question, by the way. I didn't know that about Canada. Religious zealots ruin everything in the US. Crazy to think of how things could be if not for things like the Federalist Society.
Greater than what do you mean by abortion on demand? Does it mean basically even though they're covered they're not guaranteed? The doctor has to agree to do the procedure. You can't force a doctor to give you one they don't want to give in Canada if you are sick or injured. The doctor has to help you as long as you aren't like treating them badly or suing them. You have a right to get health care from them if you are one of their patients. They can refuse to treat your illness if it's within their capabilities. Abortion specifically, as well as euthanasia, has an exception to this rule.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.